Bill, this is our final Pop Culture Piledriver of 2020. It's been a ride, my friend, but I have a question. I have a couple of things that happened or maybe didn't happen this year because you can't remember the stuff that happened this year, even if I told you, which I'm going to do. So you have to tell me the following things. Did they happen in 2020? Yes or no? First one being, Bill, Parasite won Best Picture at the Oscars.
Yes.
Correct. Game of Thrones ended.
No.
Correct. Tom Brady left the Patriots.
Yes.
Correct. Chris Evans posted a picture of his junk.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you like it?
I didn't see it, actually. I was looking for it. It wasn't with lack of trying. It was scrubbed by then. I mean, I could probably find it if I look now.
I'm sure. I thought you just need that window of time to go past. Shakira and J-Lo performed the Super Bowl halftime show.
Come on, the Super Bowl takes place in February, yeah.
But was that this year's halftime show?
Yes.
Correct. Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga performed Shallow at the Oscars.
Ooh, I'm going to say no.
That was also, nope, that was not this year. Lori Loughlin went to prison.
Yeah.
That was this year. And last but not least, this one's for people that were into this. Still never watched this, by the way. And I know there's been a lot of DSG podcasts on the topic. Tiger King was released on Netflix. Was that 2019 or 2020?
Yes, it happened in quarantine.
Well, officially released?
Yeah.
You're right, Bill. You nailed every single one of these. You are a genius. So, Bill, what does that make you? That makes you the Tiger King of 2020.
Well, if you talk to the average teenager of today and you ask them what it is about pop culture that they like, and the first thing they'll say is the beat.
Get yourself addicted. Get yourself addicted.
Come into the Pop Culture Piledriver. Get addicted to the content. I am Jason Rossi at Jason D Rossi on all social media platforms. You can follow this show at Pop Culture PD over on Twitter at Pop Culture PD, Pop Culture Piledriver. We're not the police, but heck, just give us a follow, and it'll instantly make you forget 2020. As Bill again nailed all of those.
Pretty easy.
I was doing my best. That's okay. I'd rather give you softballs because it's going to only get harder from here. And with me, as always, is the guy you're hearing here, the smartest man of the year. He is my tag team partner in the podcast sphere. He can be followed across all social media platforms at Billy D 2411. Give him a follow. Slide in those DMs. Here's Billy D.
You should have asked me if Randy Orton beat Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania this year, because that one I still don't know when it happened. It could have been this year.
Oh, see, that I thought you would have known because we were both watching. We did a post. I had a couple of wrestling ones, but I'm like, he'll know that one too easy.
No, but that was a lot of fun. Good game. So I think that's we're just, stealing people's idea. I like the game open. We did one last week. Do one this week.
It was 2 weeks ago. Oh no, you did one too. We've done games. We basically, since we were on Mac and Goo, we've done nothing but games because it's easy, it's fun. Yeah. And it's horny. Bill, people that have not already subscribe to this podcast over on iTunes. You can find us at Pop Culture Piledriver, wherever you find your podcast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. Again, sometimes like Google Pop Culture Piledriver, we're on some random ass websites as well. So enjoy those German versions. We are not dubbed in German. It's our voices. And you can like and subscribe on YouTube. Facebook, we are over there. You can like the Dork Shared Gooniverse. We stream our shows live there, YouTube, as well as on Twitter. And of course, this podcast nonprofit, Frank Says Hi. Since 2008, Frank Says Hi has been raising funds for those affected by cancer, from students going to college to giving direct funds to cancer patients over at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute with unique experiential events. You can check out all information at franksayshi.com. Bill, we have a lot to get to. Loaded show, packed, ready, jacked, juiced. But before we do that, there's a lot of stuff I can tell. Your head, while a lot smaller than mine, there's a lot of stuff in there. So let's get things out of it. Sweet Billy boy, you want to go first?
Sure, yes. So getting out of my mind. By the way, I have a giant head. It might be bigger than yours. I don't know if we've ever compared hat sizes, but I'm a shade under an 8. So
I'm over. I'm like an 8 3/8. I haven't gotten a fitted hat in a while. Yeah, I have a big I don't know.
Mine's long as well. But by the way, we could be now the prettiest podcast because you, sir, looks sexy.
It's the fresh shave. Like, let's not overreact. It's the first time you shaved and wearing a black T-shirt. All right, like I appreciate the compliments, but the beard. I went over it. It was 11 weeks without shaving. So not just Movember. It was Movember, December. I was Santa Claus recently last week on our Bad Santa episode. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, Giannic Picaro says Rossi got a trim, and maybe it's getting him some trim.
No,
but yeah, I think we both have two things we're passionate about, one a little bit more important than the other, but I will start with the less important one right now for getting out of my mind, and that is Wonder Woman 1984. What was that? Like, what was that?
Bill, I want to say this, and this will draw exactly who I believe a lot of people think I am and all that stuff. I want to like things. I want to enjoy. If I'm going to spend time on something, I don't want to be, that sucked. I hate that mentality. And that is all the DSG, with all, no offense. It's a gang mentality where you have a lot of fun, but I feel like that's a big part of like negative and not always positive. And I watched that movie. The beginning I was into, I'm not going to lie. And then
the Amazonian.
I like because it reminded me of. I loved Wonder Woman 1. I really did, like the Wonder Woman. I loved that movie. It all tied in. And this movie, I said to my wife, we both watched it, when the whole thing about like her cheating and like trying to get ahead, and I'm like, ooh, remember this? This is gonna play in. Didn't really.
Yeah, maybe a little bit with the wishes. The wishes thing was kind of stupid because there was no real consequence. If like you took it right back, it was like everything was okay. So a lot of stupid plot holes. There was, I thought, a good movie in here somewhere. They just didn't get it out of there. You know, it was kind of like Bad Santa, and we got ripped. That was the Rossi's Horrible Bad Take of the Week, which I was included in for once. And again, I thought it was hilarious. It just wasn't an actual good movie. Yeah. But back to Wonder Woman, and the real thick of it here is it was just so uneven. You start in like this unbelievable Amazonian settings, and they're doing like American Gladiators, and then you throw me into a cheesy 80s movie. It's like pick one of the two, and then I really haven't heard every, DSG podcast. We're the only one who are doing a full review. But then that scene where they're in, overseas and they're doing the car chase, that's fucking awesome. That's a great scene in the movie. And I always love when the superhero is vulnerable. I just finished, Spider-Man for PlayStation 5. And, Superman is a vulnerable superhero. He gets beat up. He gets his butt kicked. You really feel for him. And they had that going for them in this movie with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman kind of losing her power because of the wish. So I just wish that my wish would be, it was just a little more cleaner, because I thought there were some good acting performances. I thought there were some good ideas. They just didn't follow through. Like the Chris Pine getting dressed montage was out of left field. That was so weird. Like they just kept making 2 to 3 different movies in one movie.
My issue with a lot of this movie was it takes place in 1984 for one scene. And I know the whole movie takes place there. It didn't feel like 1984. The music outside of the mall scene where we first see Gal Gadot in her Wonder Woman uniform, which, by the way, you only saw twice. And then she had that random golden thing, which was there a backstory there that I missed? Did I miss the golden suit?
I think maybe it was part of the mom's thing. I have no idea.
No, it random. The movie was just random. It didn't feel like a superhero movie, which that's fine to a certain degree. There was moments in this movie where I felt like Kristen Wiig was the real main star of this movie. Like her arc was what we were to follow. The random dude with the wishes thing, like, what are we doing? Bill, here's the random thing. Once the wishes were unwished, it's not like people didn't know that the wishes happened. It wasn't like minds were erased. It's like, oh, where have I been? I've been in the days for a few. So are people throughout history now going to look back on that random day in 1984 and be like, remember when the whole world went crazy? It's like,
plus nuclear warheads disappear. The guy who appeared to kill his wife brought her back to life.
Yeah, did you not?
Some consequences, and everything was just fine.
Yeah, I wanted to like it a lot more. I really didn't like that. It should have just been called Wonder Woman 2. The whole 1984 thing it wasn't even a cheap grab at 80s nostalgia. There was no 80s nostalgia.
It was for one second that mall scene felt like straight out of Back to the Future, and I was like, but it followed, an Amazonian scene that was kind of shot grittier and a little bit harder, and it was, really intense-ish. I thought it was stupid, but it was still cool look. And then they go to that cheesy 80s thing. I was like, you gotta pick a lane here. And they kept switching. And last night I actually finished it off because I had gotten 90 minutes through it, and I was like, I'm done when she makes the plane.
Quitter.
And then I went back to it for this so I could finish the review of this. And I kept accidentally, I kept saying Wonder Woman 1984, and it kept taking me to Wonder Woman 1. And I was like, this can't be it. And I was like, I've seen this thing before. But
Wait, what were you talking into? I'm just curious.
My remote.
So you know what's happening? I bet you they're like, this shit's getting panned. But get him to the movie that he wants to see.
It was just after that car chase scene, and I was like, no, this is the first movie. Even though I was like, it could feel like this was like 1910 in this movie, or whenever the war was, because it felt so random and all over the place.
And the color was so bright. And the thing is, too, Patty Jenkins, who was part of the writing of this, I got so much praise for her work with Wonder Woman. The first, I think, female to make a superhero movie. It sucked. I'm sorry. It really did. It was a hard look for her. I know, and everyone's like, oh, Wonder Woman 3 is coming, because the movie's still they're gonna be fine. I just didn't feel like there was enough action. I don't know what this movie was. It was bizarre. And the whole Chris Pine just being like me or you just turning into Chris Pine, me knowing I'm not Chris Pine, Wonder Woman banged some Strange, thinking in her mind she was the only one who saw him as Chris Pine. Very bizarre.
It was Quantum Leap. It was Quantum Leap out of nowhere. It really was. I gotta jump.
It was.
So it was a mess, and I think everybody had the same sentiment that we were all jazzed up to see a new movie, a superhero movie, and I think Mac, he's a little bit, your polar opposite, where he's more negative and easily criticizes, and I'm kind of with him. I was, or with his take, where we kind of got so enticed by a movie and a superhero movie, we forgot it was a DC movie.
Yeah, but you know what?
We also save Shazam.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Shazam and Wonder Woman were two of the more.
I thought Wonder Woman was fine.
It's good. It was good.
The last third of it is completely random. I thought it was really good. I thought it was good. It was a fine movie.
It's fine.
I mean, and to go to a quick horrible dork take, they put out their top DC movies, and they had Birds of Prey 1 and Shazam 2.
Birds of Prey is 1. I've never watched it, so I can't. I love Shazam. Shazam is very rewatch. This movie hit at the end of the day. Go watch it for yourself. Don't take me or Billy or everybody else.
But you can
watch it because it's free. Yeah, you can.
It's not free though. You got to pay for it unless you have HBO. It's not free.
Yeah, true. I have HBO Max. I use it from somebody else, not you. The one thing I don't come after you like my dealer. I would just say that just super low expectations. Have yourself some time, because that's the other thing. If this was an hour and 40, Bill, we could be talking about a whole different ball game. Too long for a crappy movie.
Way too long. It literally could be on How Did This Get Made, because it's that bad of a movie. I'm looking forward to Soul. I haven't watched it because I don't feel like crying, but I will watch it soon.
Yeah, I'm not huge on modern day cartoon movie. I don't watch a ton of them, but this one I've heard such good things, and I think I need a good palate cleanser.
Well, and it's a lot I've heard Inside Out, which again Dork didn't like, but I think that's a phenomenal movie. I watched that for the first time on a plane on a work trip, and I cried like a little baby.
All I know about that movie is you guys used to make fun of a mutual friend, PJ, and said she was one of the characters. And sad. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got to watch it just for that.
Yes.
All right. Bill, in my mind, and, speaking about sad things, John Huber, also formerly known as Luke Harper, formerly known as Brody Lee in AEW and WWE, passed away this past weekend due to, as his wife described, a non-COVID lung issue. This guy was one of those MVP performers as a wrestler for a few years, under the radar, not in the main event scene, as part of the Wyatt family with Bray Wyatt, Eric Rowan. Always was a standout in that faction, and then was a great singles there. Had one of the more incredible ladder matches of the modern era, where TLC, which just passed in WWE calendar, they force in these matches. But him and Dolph Ziggler had one of the best ladder matches. A show for the ages. Rewatched it the other day, and I actually sent this to Dork, who mentioned him as a pick of the pod. It's one of the hardest hitting sell fests. If you want to watch two guys in a car crash, check out TLC 2014. But to the point here, this man passed away in his prime, 41 years old. It really hits me, because this is my I love wrestling. This was what the podcast was prior to. I still watch 7 hours of live wrestling each week. It is a passion of mine. It's something I've loved since day one-ish. And I can tell you that when these things happen, and not older, Pat Patterson recently passed. Somebody else I can't remember, and I apologize, but older wrestlers, it hits, but it doesn't sting.
And it wasn't your normal, I hate to say normal because it stinks to say that in the wrestling business, but it wasn't like a drug overdose. It wasn't something from concussions. This guy died of an issue that any one of us could die from, especially in this day and age. I know it was non-COVID, but it's so sad. And like you said, 41 is kind of now like it's. You said prime and said 41, and I'm not even really batting an eye at that because at 41 you still have in like this day and age a long time to wrestle. And he was at an event that we were at, and we had really good seats. I don't know if it was actually Money in the Bank. It might have been before it was called Money in the Bank, but it was a Money in the Bank match happened that night. But the opening match was a 2 out of 3 falls match between the Usos and the Wyatt family, and it stole the show. And the main reason it stole the show, I mean, Eric Rowan is pretty good, but Luke Harper went at it with the Usos. It was one of the best told stories in the ring. The guy could flat out go, and everything you've heard about this guy, I just realized how many wrestlers I actually follow on Instagram because my page was nothing but wrestlers posting about how much of a saint this guy was. He was great to his family. He was a great father. He saved every penny on the road for his family. He collected every little ring ticket and every card he was on so he could give it to his son, every wrestler. It's truly sad, and I feel so bad that he passed so young.
Yeah, and just to go into what you said about 41 being a prime, it's because these guys have been wrestling since early 20s, probably 10 years on whatever is known as the independent. Then if they're not pushed immediately in WWE or wherever they make it to next in NXT, AEW, there's usually that 5 to 7 year window where then they pop up. This guy this year went to AEW in this calendar of 2020. Fought for the AEW championship against Jon Moxley in a barn burner of a match. Fought against Cody Rhodes twice, beat him in his final match, Bill, that I recommend you checking out, was a dog collar match. Both of them bloodied up. A really touching story and a weird, I guess you'd call it some kismic stuff that the first and last time Brody Lee or Luke Harper, John Huber was pinned in a wrestling ring was to Cody Rhodes. The very first time was pinned in WWE, like on television, and the last time was to Cody Rhodes. So something kind of special there. But you mentioned it. He's a family man. Everybody talked about it. Eddie Guerrero, I'm sure if social media was what it was then, I remember being with you. It was a Monday night, or it was a Tuesday night technically when he passed, or late Monday. But that was shocking. But we were younger. The world was a little different. If that was today, I bet you would have seen that same type of outpouring. And obviously, Eddie, unfortunately, that was due to, harm to himself, where this wasn't. And this was just horrible. And like you said, everything goes out to the wrestling community. All these wrestlers, it showed the brotherhood. This is what I noticed. The past few days shows that this is a family. Yes, there's a lot of the creative stuff. Yes, you can listen to old podcasts and have a laugh and poke fun. And this guy didn't get over. He stunk. He doesn't sell, whatever. But that is a family of people. And it just shows, remember – the friends you have, the group of people you have, those are your family, those are your friends. Treat them, you bust their chops, but we all know what this is all about.
And there was a video from Enzo, who, say what you want about him, but had some really nice things to say.
I don't know if Bill's frozen again. I'm going to say he is. I'm going to just take him out. But yeah, a lot of these wrestlers came out with that stuff, and that's why our topic today, it's a little twist. Like Wonder Woman, everyone's reviewing it, everyone's talking about it. We gave you a little taste, but here on this one, we're going to talk about the top 11 female wrestlers, and with this John Huber situation, it all just wrestling is something me and Bill connected on, or big fans of, have always been. So we have decided that would be part of our topic for today, bringing in, wrestling back into this podcast, especially with all the harm. But you were saying something about Enzo's post, Bill. Bill, you're back, baby. He's playing with himself. But yeah, it was just one of those things that, right. You were saying something about Enzo. Right.
Yeah, so Enzo had a great video the other day saying, it was his first match on the main roster, and I think you're frozen again. No, I think we're good. Sorry, I'm going to stop mentioning it. But he said that, what's your finish, kid? And Enzo was just so blown away that this kid, this lowly kid from NXT, his first match was against the Wyatt family, and Luke Harper took his finish, and he sold it like nobody's business.
It's really, you just saw this guy was.
All right, Rossi, you may have to edit this out.
He was that guy when it came to all this. Can you hear me, Bill? But yeah, so having a little technical difficulties here, but that's okay. That's what we do. We'll bring Bill back in a minute once his screen is up and loading. So with that all being said, yeah, that's why, again, this is why we decided to go with the female wrestlers based on Wonder Woman. Obviously, everyone's reviewing it. We gave you our take. Go watch it for yourself. Have your own take on it. It's a pretty rough movie, but this is where we'll get to. Bill, we're going to talk top 11 female wrestlers. How did we get here? Bill made a list of 15. I made a list of 15. Smash the math together, and here we go. But before we get that, Bill, you put a little snazzy little video together, so let's check this out.
So, who wants some sweet stratisfaction? If you wanna run away with me, I know a galaxy and I could take you for a ride. Glitter in the sky, glitter in my eyes, shining just the way you like. You want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you, moonlight, you're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating.
Oh, we ain't going to last on YouTube with that one, but great job by you, Phil, in the editing. So this is it, the top 11 female wrestlers of all time. Now, just to give you a little preview before we get into it, this is mostly stuff we have seen. So this is not good. We're not going deep into like Chikara out of Japan. We're not going deep into some of the other. To be honest, I don't really think they're like, I think WWE, to give a lot of credit where credit is due, have produced the highest like rated and best volume of female superstars. There's some that dipped into different federations as well, but
And if not, they just go out and get them. So eventually they get them.
yeah. So even though it's controversial, I know honorable mentions go everywhere. We'll start here with the top 11 though. Most things I see they do honorable mentions first, just to get people out of the way. But with that being said, coming in at number 11, a female that made her name in the NXT brand in the debut era of the NXT brand with the WWE Network, premiered on Raw the night after WrestleMania 30, defeating AJ Lee in her first match for the Women's Championship. At the time, it was the Divas title. Number 11, movie named after her called Fighting With My Family. It's Paige.
I love this girl, an incredible talent. And one of the things that you forget is she was the original Women's Evolution with Emma on the first NXT pay-per-view, on the first debut real live event on the WWE Network. Those two went at it. They were incredible. And that was kind of my first reintroduction at the moment to WWE in a large way. And she was so good, and they were so good. And, she, like you said, she won the title on the very first night. So I am just enamored with Paige. She's, had a couple of moments in her life that are regrettable, I guess, from an internet standpoint. I mean, not regrettable. She was living life. But you do you. But that didn't stop her, and she's an incredible talent and unbelievable to look at as well.
I can't say more than that, aside from the fact that she was also one of the most over female wrestlers. They're always going to talk about AJ Lee held this division up. Beth Phoenix held this division up. Eve Torres a little bit. There was all these like Lay Cool. There was all these divas in that in between, Mickey James and all the. She was, I truly believe, was, like you said, the real start of the women's evolution. It was the very first NXT Arrival special. And you said it, her versus Emma blew everyone's minds because it was two women showing they could be as good as, if not better than, most men on the card. And if you haven't, go back and watch that 2014. Watch that at first NXT Arrival.
It was mind-blowing from a standpoint of I turned it on and saw this kid who's Sami Zayn. And then they just continued to follow it up. And the Emma Page match really opened my eyes. And at that point in my life, like I didn't like women's wrestling. And over the next 2 years, it was probably the strongest part of NXT for a little while.
Oh, I completely agree. It was the biggest part, I think, of the roster there for a very long time. And we both talked about this. NXT had a mid-card for women's wrestlers in a 1-hour show where Raw and SmackDown, 4 hours total, couldn't. It was just top, and that's it.
Always the point I would make. And one last thing, our guy Frank checking in, Lefty, says, could have been number 1 if not for injuries. I don't think she could be 1, but she could be 3, 4, 5, easy.
I would fight the point that he's right, because her wrestling career was cut short. She's one of those wrestlers that there's rumors that maybe there'll be a return with all these things. You've seen it with Edge, with Daniel Bryan, all these injuries.
It's more about the composition of her body. She just physically can't do it because I think she has scoliosis and a bad spine. But I do think that the women on this list higher are. It's a good point. You could make the argument.
With creative and all the other stuff that's things out of her control. I think she would crack the top 5 based on projection.
Yeah, if she was healthy this whole time, she would be a top 5.
And we'll take Alberto Del Rio out of the situation as well. All right, coming in at number 10. No, not a spoiler with the shirt Billy is wearing, because number 10 is maybe the most over or opportunity to be over female wrestler of all time, literally of all time, the most connected with the fan base, the most connected at NXT. Soft and pretty crappy launch on the main roster.
Yeah,
Took about 4 years to get her where she is today. Top of her game, must-see television, one of the best female wrestlers of 2020. Go back in the archives of the Pop Culture Piledriver. We did a full rundown of this superstar in WWE in her first 3 years. We're talking about number 10, Bayley.
It's Bayley. It used to be. It's Bayley.
Used to be, yeah.
This, and I have 4 of her shirts, I believe. I have 2 I'm a Hugger ones. I'm wearing the sleeveless one for obvious reasons tonight. But she was Dynamo in NXT, an unbelievable character. She captivated the crowd, had some of the all-time greatest reactions I've ever seen in the UK one. Hey, Bayley. That was that. Like, I got the feelings from that. She was so good. Her matches against pretty much everyone in NXT were incredible. She's great against Charlotte Flair. Obviously, when she turned into emo Bayley, heel Bayley, I was wanting that for a very long time. Very disappointed. Like, she was close, near and dear to my heart. Like, I was watching this at a time where I kind of needed an escape. And honestly, Bayley was one of my main escapes. I loved watching her matches in NXT. So it was always a treat, always like you said, they kind of, they built her incorrectly. They kind of pushed her too quickly, and you got to build the character of Bayley like they did in NXT, slowly losing a lot. And she was one of the few, out of the 4 horsewomen, she wasn't brought up with everybody else to the main roster. And I kind of like that for her in NXT, because her NXT run as women's champion, and there's so many great ones, might be one of the best.
Yeah, she's going to be up there. I give it to someone who's going to be on this list later. It was odd because they could have brought these women up, not necessarily together, but like as a full like invasion up. Not like what they did, the thing where Sasha went with Team Bad, Becky went with whoever the heck she went with, and I think Charlotte was with. It was just a strange situation, and Bayley got left behind. Had a nice pop when she made her debut at Battleground. And the show kind of went on from there, but she never really clicked in that same position because she won the championship on a Raw. She won it before WrestleMania. She was a character built for that underdog women's storyline to capture it at WrestleMania 33. Went in with the title, left with the title. Wasn't the same feeling.
Yeah, and I think we said enough on Bayley, but I would encourage you to go back and check out that match against Nia Jax. Sasha at the NXT takeover, I think Brooklyn. Phenomenal match. But I actually like the Nia Jax one because it was a very Bret Hart versus Yokozuna-esque feel to it. And it was how you wrestle as even though she's a pretty big girl, size-wise, height-wise, but Nia is such an imposing physical force. That match felt real, and the crowd, as always with those NXT pay-per-views, sold it.
Coming in at number 9 is a wrestler that is a surefire Hall of Famer. A great, we talked a little bit about that weird in-between post-attitude era, like the PG in the Ruthless Aggression era, not really known, aside from Trish and Lita in their time there, like not known for its female wrestling. We have 2 people on this list that come from that era that I think are complete standouts. This being one who re-debuted with WWE in NXT to take on Asuka during the Undefeated Streak. Re-debuted on the main roster, part of Alexa Bliss. Has had great matches. One of, I don't know if I want to say but top 3, aging like fine wine. Look, it's better with age. Incredible wrestler in the ring. Standout moment at a WrestleMania, doing very naughty things that have been edited from the WWE network. Number 9, Mickie James.
An all-time great. I mean, they're all going to be all-time greats. Top 11, obviously, of all-time female wrestlers. So I'm just wondering real quick, you must have had Bayley kind of low and Mickie James kind of low, because I had them pretty high.
Yeah, I can pull up my exact numbers here if I didn't, because sometimes I edit the numbers as they go.
Because I think I had Bayley like 5 or 6.
Yeah, I changed my. Yeah, I screwed this up.
But either way, when you look, Mickie James for me, was one of the people who introduced, that female competition that really got it going, put it on the map. Her and Trish, probably one of the all-time greatest female rivalries from a booking standpoint, and they could both go. Like, they could really, really go. The chick kick, obviously, she had that whole storyline of being the crazy fan, which really played off well, and, you already mentioned the WrestleMania moment. But her rebirth in her second career, still looking great, still kicking, some ass. I really think, she's deserving of this list, and, she obviously definitely will be a WWE Hall of Famer at one point.
Yeah, and just so people know, like, obviously you think Trish and Lita, right? That's the big rivalry. The thing is, I think Mickie James and Trish in the ring, better in ring together. Like, Lita, I almost would argue, never had the greatest dance partner for her specific skill set. I would have loved to see more with her and someone like a Chyna and Ivory.
Obviously, she was a little choppy.
Yeah, but she was raw. Like, she was just kind of like crazy. And I thought Trish, who will obviously, spoiler ahead, we'll get to her, but like, her and Mickie James put on one of the better WrestleMania matches because it was a true heel you didn't want to see win and doing these dirty, nasty, bad girl things that you never saw before in a true, like, vicious, dirty heel, which was awesome. Awesome to see. I believe it was WrestleMania 22. Don't quote me on that, but just an incredible stuff. So Mickie James coming in at number 9. Now coming in at number 8 is someone that I think was probably, I didn't think you were going to have on your list, and is someone that I kind of admired. She was the first indie wrestler that I watched, like, in 2003. She was known as the Rey Mysterio of the women's division. She is a former Divas champion, women's champion, never had the breakout stuff for WWE, more known for her stuff in TNA, which it's rare for me to say this, especially in that era, like 2006. Go watch it. She was incredible. Velvet Sky matches, Awesome Kong, some of the best that TNA had to offer during a time that TNA was a valuable product. Coming to number 8, Gail Kim.
Right, just a respect thing, and I've seen a ton of her matches. Her and Awesome Kong was probably the best thing that they had going in that women's division for a long time. She spent some time in WWE, but that's when the women's division really didn't deserve a person like Gail Kim.
True. That's a good way of putting it.
They really just didn't have the people that she could kind of play with. You know what I mean? She didn't have a good dance. But there were some, Beth Phoenix's at the time, I believe, was around. But, she was an elite level style wrestler. She just recently retired, had a nice long career. I think she's a TNA Hall of Famer or whatever they do over there. So just an all-time in-ring women's performer.
Yeah, I so wish, like we mentioned, Mickie James come back. She is someone I would love to see, with these extended rosters in WWE, like right now with COVID in the no crowds, I don't know if it's worth it, but like, she would be a great hand for them to bring in some way, or maybe even as a trainer. But yeah, she was during the era where you have to remember, like, the one thing I literally comes off the top of my head with her wrestling, she was part of the dodgeball tournament during the Divas contest when it was the Divas versus the female wrestlers, and it was basically an embarrassing situation.
Yeah, it was like a lot of the late cool stuff then, and Alicia Fox. So you weren't, not that they were terrible women's wrestlers, but I think that this list will show that the real, it's kind of like the NBA. Like right now, like the last 20 years, you're getting a different kind of NBA with like the elite level athletes and the training and all the stuff they have at their disposals. Like the women's wrestling right now, if Gail Kim was plucked into there and put in this situation, she would be one of the top ones.
Yeah, it'll be. Yeah, it's a really good point. Like, I'd still love to see it, maybe a one-off match, something like those specialty things that WWE occasionally does, even if it was for NXT. Who knows? Coming in at number 7, Bill, is a woman that just surpassed the longest combined title reigns, I believe, in the last 30 years for women's wrestling combined. Say no more than this. Had the undefeated streak, better than Goldberg. Has incredible matches almost every time out. One of the most charismatic and must-see women of all time. Just her entrance alone, her movements, her dancing. Maybe when her opponents come out, might even be more entertaining because she dances and sings along. It's Asuka, and no one's ready for her.
You talk too much. Everything she does is incredible. I love her. I was all about the Asuka. She had some of the greatest matches in NXT, an incredible performer. I was really sad when they didn't put her over Charlotte at WrestleMania. I get it. It's Charlotte Flair. But she is, she fought men, before she came here. Her style is incredible. The way she can just snap on an Asuka lock. Her kicks look so good. The flying butt bump that she does. Everything about her is electric. And I will say, the stuff that she did in the Money in the Bank match and that empty stuff, hilarious. And it's when I was still kind of watching at the start of quarantine. She was memeable every moment because she knew, she understood, she gets the business, she gets how to play to a crowd, and she was putting herself, she was just dancing in the background for no reason, and I loved every second of it.
She, to me, is the truest form of what a pro wrestler is. You've seen, and now we're so far into the no crowds, but when it was literally just in like a soundstage look, and it was, I know it was tough look, and that's kind of what hurt your fandom there for a little while, is that like she could care less. She's the type of wrestler that put me in front of the gym at the Everett Rec Center with 15 people.
Or put me performing.
Put me in front of WrestleMania, in front of, like, I'm just a performer. This is what I love to do. And that's why I've said, and I've gotten in arguments on Twitter. You can follow me at Jason D Rossi. Look at my mentions. Asuka's the female wrestler of the year. She has never once shown any signs of anything but pure like entertainment, whether it was just literally dancing around. We'll get to a moment with somebody else on our list when there was a big reveal. You mentioned Money in the Bank, what that turned into. Her raw authenticness is incredible. She's somebody I think over time will grow on this list if she has 1 to 2 more major moments in her career, which I believe we will see.
Oh, if she goes for 5 more years, she could be top 3 all time because she's just that damn good. And for someone who doesn't speak the language that well, or at least they don't let her on TV, unreal at communicating to a crowd because she just feels it. She's like that John Cena level of like, I know what the crowd wants, I know what the crowd needs, and I know how to get it across to them, even though I don't speak their language.
Yeah, and I think the one thing you said earlier, one of the hardest hitting in the ring. Oh. I bet you some of these women don't. It's not like, and no offense to Nia Jax who gets panned, but like you don't want to be in the ring with her because she's gonna beat the crap out of you. Like she's gonna do it.
We saw Alexa Bliss at a live NXT show the night your cat broke the TV. Just not want to play with her.
Nope.
Just not want to get she was not ready for Asuka. She was like, because I was so excited to see her, and Alexa Bliss was not having it.
No, she was like, I'm not taking this beat right now. So yeah, Asuka coming in at number 7. Number 6, maybe the most over female wrestler of all time, exclamation point, question mark. She sold the most t-shirts, I believe, in the history of female wrestlers. She is one of the reasons women main evented the WrestleMania. No, we're not talking about Ronda Rousey. Could have made this list, by the way. Didn't make any of our lists, but she is the man. Coming in at number 6, Becky Lynch.
I mean, I was debating on what shirt to wear. Couldn't find the man, but I probably would have won with Bayley because Bayley is my girl. But you got to give the man her due. She put women's wrestling, it was already on the map, but she cemented it as the main event level that it should be. She brought some spunk to it, some Steve Austin flair to it. She's a really dynamic performer. Sometimes the Royal Rumble match against Asuka kind of mailed it in. I think didn't love that match. Yeah. Didn't love that match. That one probably would have got me. But in the little quiz at the beginning. But you can't take away from her. She just has it with the crowd. She's great on the mic. She delivers it. I got goosebumps the night that she opened SmackDown with The Rock, kind of giving her the torch as you are the man. She had a kid. Good for her. It was kind of at the top, like not at the top, but a little bit coming down on the hill after her huge, huge high. So I'm really excited if she's going to get back into the ring, what she's going to do. That will bring me back to wrestling. I just love her. Love a redhead. I love her spunk. And my last thing real quickly, in NXT, I was like, I don't know if I like this girl as much as the other girls. And then she had a match that she lost to Sasha Banks where she gave her all. And they knew, I don't know if that was planned, but like after she lost, she got kind of like that hero's outro. And the crowd knew she put on a show. And that's when I was like, all right, this girl just won me over for life.
Yeah, production when it came to Becky Lynch has been a big part of this. She is a badass. Like she didn't take no for an answer much longer. Yeah. After WrestleMania 33, where she was part of like a 6-woman quick match before the main event because WrestleMania's gotten too long, you could tell she's like, I gotta step up my game. And over the next 2 years, she worked and probably was in the back, probably raising a little bit of hell, and then eventually got that moment. And where she said, I'm not the woman, I'm the man, changed everything because it stopped. Like we're living in a time where it's all about equality. Everybody, men should be paid equal to women. All colors and walks of life should all be treated equally, which everyone obviously is on support for here. But she literally was a landmark moment there when she said, I'm the man as a woman. It has become this major movement and the shirt sold like hotcakes. And it is incredible to see how she evolved. It is her Austin 316 moment. And I agree with you. Her currently have it with child, leaving WWE on the high, being the champion, giving it over to Asuka in one of the best moments of 2020.
Oh, love to cry.
Yeah, absolutely. Tears in my eyes. It was an incredible moment. I like when you don't get breaks in wrestling.
And another great moment that happened just kind of like cosmically, I should say, is when Nia Jax punched her in the face, breaking her nose, and stopped the Ronda Rousey match to make it even more special when it happened. So that just shows you the slower building of a wrestler is the better way to build a wrestler. And they did it with her kind of by happenstance, and hopefully it happens for her again and she comes back like a badass. But I will say one other thing. The women's movement obviously is great, but WWE was kind of on the forefront. And there's a woman at my work who was, and we all should be, women are equal, but she was, talking about women in sports. And I was like, if you want, women in sports entertainment, they are getting main events at the NXT level right now. They're minor league level. They are doing things with women's wrestling that, aren't being rivaled in other sports right now. So, and she was part of it. And, basically the 4 horsewomen were the thing behind it. And we're paying respect to them a little bit with this list, but Becky Lynch, unreal.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, now cracking our top 5. The 9th wonder of the world. I actually debated being my number 1 for a minute, Bill. Number 5 is China.
I think that would have been Rossi's horrible take just because I don't think she had that long of enough of a wrestling career. But what she did was absolutely trailblazing. She's an incredible performer. The way she burst onto the scene was kind of like the role that they would give to the big heater, right? Like the Diesel role. They brought her in as the muscle for DX, which was perfect. But you didn't even think, oh, she's a girl. You thought, all right, this girl can kick some friggin' ass, and she did. And then when she started, and our guy Joe of the JK of the Jobber Knocker made some good points that she really didn't wrestle women, but she did so much for women in the business.
That has nothing to do. It's not female wrestling division. She is the only one on this list. Spoilers ahead, to be an intercontinental men's quote unquote title holder. Like, that was huge. She beat Jeff Jarrett. She beat Chris Jericho. Every podcast I've listened to, Jim Ross recently did one on her. Men did not want to be in the ring with her because they would either hurt her or she would make them look bad. She was intimidating on so many different levels. She changed the industry. I think she is there's so much to China, and it took a little while to get there, but she became a really strong in-ring competitor. And don't forget, she did have the big match at WrestleMania 17 against Ivory, where she just whooped her butt in like 2 seconds. Her story outside of wrestling and the relationship with Triple H, it's heartbreaking, very sad. R.I.P. Joni Lawler, but I am enamored by her. She was a big part of when I was young, from looking kind of I hate to say this, but mannish, and you're like, ooh, kind of spooky. All the surgeries and things she did to feminine her, I don't know the right word here, to look more feminine. It's just sad that that's what it took, and that's the world we live in for women, but she was just incredible. And when she was on TV, you must watch. You had to see what she was going to do.
She was a great character, and she was a great heater. And, I didn't get to put Sensational Sherry on this list because, quite frankly, I never saw her wrestle too much, even though I know she was a good wrestler back in the day. But she kind of had that feel of when you saw her, something was going to happen, because she was just that kind of character. And she did earn her stripes in the ring, and she became a great competitor among the men. She didn't even really fight too many women in her day. So she was just an impressive specimen, obviously the 9th wonder of the world. So shout out to China, RIP to China, but definitely deserving to be high on this list. I don't think 1, but I can see, I think 5's just out of the Mount Rushmore. I might even put her in the Mount Rushmore if I could do it over again, but deserving of this high.
Yeah, and again, she wasn't my number 1. It was one of the debates. I had 3 people I was toying with. She was 1. Coming in at number 4, I guess you're right, kicking off the Mount Rushmore female wrestlers. This is one we've talked about her a few times already. Incredible in-ring, just very raw, very ragged. Also mix it up with the men, including in a WrestleMania match with Mick Foley and Edge. She had a great bump in that match. She went through a lot of personal stuff that got pulled into wrestling that made for one of the most intriguing storylines. She started off as a sidekick, became a wrestler, then went back to became a sexual sidekick, which is going to tie into some of the stuff we'll talk about after. But number 4, could be controversial because a lot of people thought she'd be number one. It's Lita.
I don't think she deserved to be number one. I think this is the perfect place for Lita because she didn't have the most illustrious wrestling career. It was good when she was doing it, and she was a great in-ring performer, but not the cleanest of competitors when she's out there, but that's kind of her style anyways. But she was electric, and her look at the time was different than any other diva.
Yeah. And let's be honest, that thong hanging out when you were younger, that was like a man's dream. A woman in a thong, and she's just flaunting it.
But she also dressed like no other diva at the time, or women's wrestler. She dressed like that kind of, dyed hair. She dressed like the Hardys. She dressed like a punk. And she really brought a lot. But there's not too many matches you remember of Lita's. And this is a women's wrestling list.
Yeah, honestly, the most memorable, just off the top of my head, is like a bra and panties match against Trish one time, and the match where she broke her neck, where they both main event in Raw.
They main event in Raw.
Was huge at the time, and I understand that. So she's still. We're not talking about her like she's number 100. It's the top 11. She's number 4. There's a lot of reasons for that. I think again, also someone that if maybe were to come back, Trish did it. Maybe there's one more in her just to cap off a career. I don't know. We'll see, but. Awesome competitor, has done so much in her career. Like we said, a sexualized character, and badass in the ring, someone young females could look up to, including a young AJ Lee. There's those famous photos back in the day, which is funny because that's CM Punk's wife. CM Punk dated Amy Dumas.
CM Punk just dated everybody.
Oh, Slade. Just straight Slade.
She was dynamic. You remember her, and she's like a lasting image in the women's wrestling world. And I think a good spot for her is on the Mount Rushmore, but not at the top.
All right. Usually honorable mentions come very much later, but I thought this is a good spot, Bill, because I think there could be a predictability if we went all the way between 2 and 1 or 3 and 2. So very quickly, the ones that got votes on our list but didn't quite make it, and there's a lot of people we could have put on here, but in this order of closest to making it to least close to making it was Victoria, AJ Lee, Awesome Kong, Natalia, and Beth Phoenix. Anything about them?
I mean, it's a great honorable mentions list. There's a few others that you could throw on there as well. Obviously, there's a lot of young up-and-comers that are, going to one day probably scratch and claw their way onto the list. But AJ Lee, to me, kind of kept the division afloat. She was a really good wrestler. Love her entrance song. Loved her vibe. Again, another kind of unique look. Probably got that from her love of Lita. The chucks, the long socks, not your typical kind of sexualized diva of the day. And then Victoria, I loved. Badass friggin' woman. She was actual legit real women's wrestler. Had some great moves. And then Natty and Beth Phoenix are kind of, they're stalwarts of the division. They were good hands. They never really did anything for me. I love, the look of Beth Phoenix. She looked, the Glamazon had great moves, but she never really, she was huge. But she never really, I never was enamored with her in the ring.
Yeah, Beth Phoenix was a tough time in ring stuff. I think Natalia could have made this list, didn't make this list because she's just so good in the ring. I get her character; she's not over, if you would.
She had a fighting gimmick at one point.
Yeah, they really. So did Nikki.
They killed her.
They really do some bad things to these people. She was hot too, very very hot. But also, just one thing I want to mention: Awesome Kong on this list as well because she was. What you see like Nia Jax, like an unoverexposed, very special attraction, wrestled in Japan, came over to TNA, very short run as Carmen, WWE, also was in a men's Royal Rumble. I think if she had a longer run, she was also on the show. Glow, thank you. Like she could have been one of those like higher on this list if she had the proper run, especially in WWE. But those are honorables, Bill. We'll kick it in now. Furthering along in the Abe Lincoln of the Mount Rushmore. Number 3 spot, I don't know if that's true, is one of the most over female wrestlers of all time, ? I think when it comes to female wrestlers, there's very few. Becky Lynch is highly defended on the internet, and I think this wrestler is just as much. Took a little break there over a year ago, which I think helped spark her. She went from purple hair to blue hair. The hair thing's a little confusing, but she is bell to bell, one of the best in the ring to ever do it. Number 3, the boss, Sasha Banks.
I love Sasha Banks. I love what she brings to the table, and I think I ranked her slightly higher on my list than Bayley, and I'm a huge Bayley guy, and you know that. But what Sasha Banks does in the ring is she puts her body on the line night after night. She is an incredible female performer, just a great performer in general. Every time you see her, you know you're getting a great match. It's unfortunate every time she gets the title, it's gone in a heartbeat usually. So she doesn't
first time her current title reign is the first time she's defended it. First time ever as a singles. Successfully defended it. She's done it twice.
She's so much fun to watch. She gets huge pops when she comes out. She has so much swagger. You know, Snoop Dogg's her uncle. She loves Eddie Guerrero. You can kind of see all that flair in the ring. I just love watching a Sasha Banks match because she puts in her all. And again, she is just reckless in all the right ways.
Yeah, I know you didn't love it, but Hell in a Cell, her and Charlotte Flair getting that main event. If you go back and watch that now, not with the overhype and like the position they put them in, just put their bodies on the line.
The only thing I didn't like is they started at an 11, like we did, and then they went down. Like if they had built to it,
and the injury thing.
Yeah, they just ragdolled Sasha in that match. It's crazy to watch.
Her versus Becky Lynch, though, it's Hell in a Cell 2019. Unbelievable match. Her versus Bayley at Hell in a Cell this year. She's in like all the Hell in a Cells. Another great match. She's put on great matches. NXT, literally almost every match she was in when she was outside of the little tag team with the pretty little people there with Summer Rae and Charlotte. Like she is just really, really good, especially in the ring, a one-on-one action. Her tag team matches, nothing to shame, no shame there either. But she is just a standout performer. This summer of 2020, when it quarantined, her and Bayley together was like must see all over the place. They were defending all the titles. It was they rallied around her, and she also main evented against Io Shirai on an NXT, which was awesome, and beat AEW. It was one of the few times that NXT just on like a main event time frame, like that quarter hour, beat and like pantsed AEW. So that was a must see and a really cool match.
I mean, Io Shirai, now you're talking to me. She could be on this list. I almost put her on just because I love her. But when you see Sasha Banks wrestle, she wrestles at such a high speed. Like she is fast and effective in the ring. Her stuff looks great. When she does that knee slam into the corner, I love it. She's so vicious when she does the backcracker. She sells the hell out of the bank statement. I just love the way she performs in the ring. It's so crisp. It's so good. And yeah, she'll botch a few times here and there, but it's usually when she's trying to sell a ridiculous move that somebody else does. And that's another thing that I love. And she's probably the best on this list at that. She might be the female Dolph Ziggler, the female Shawn Michaels, the female Triple H. Like if she is going to sell for you, she's going to sell all day long for you.
I completely agree, especially as a heel. She's a great heel.
Yes, and that's, I think, an important part and an underrated part for women's wrestling is having a great heel, because you're right. When she is the heel, she sells like no one else.
Yeah, I completely agree. Coming in at number 2. Now, these were both of our 1 and 2, by the way. Mm-hmm. And I debated, so if people want to know, our 1 and 2, before we say them, I had Chyna in these two. I was debating on our number 1, because both of us love both of these two. Mm-hmm. Coming in at number 2, I won't even overhype it. I'll just get to it. It is Trish Stratus. Trish Stratus is the reason I could make the argument for number 1 is she was I'm just using this, like the Playboy model. She was the like, holy smokes, is the hottest woman on earth. This is incredible. And made her way from doing strip matches, sexualized character, to becoming not only a wrestler, a credible wrestler, and a really, really good wrestler. Like someone that could hang in the ring with anybody of the time, has come back a few times, had done WrestleMania 27.
Sasha match.
She didn't face Sasha, did she?
Yeah. I'm almost 100% sure.
Yes, she did at Evolution, right? No, was that a tag?
It might have been WrestleMania. I think she faced her at WrestleMania.
She did not face her at WrestleMania. I can tell you that for sure. But either way, she did come back for Evolution. She's come back for Royal Rumble. She was number 30 one year. She is just like always come back. And then she had the match against Charlotte last year, 2019 SummerSlam, in a very strong match. She is like, and she's the every woman. She's lovable, like her look. She has a great personality. She loves pro wrestling to this day. She still does little hits for WWE, or you can see stuff on social media. I love that about her. She didn't leave and like forget about where she came from. She also, this is weird and it doesn't have to really count here, but she's been with her high school sweetheart this whole entire time, from becoming like literally one of the hottest, biggest sex symbols in the history, one of the most downloaded divas of all time, like Babe of the Year to Wrestler of the Year to Female Wrestler for Raw 25, for the 25 years of Raw. She has it all. She is an incredible performer, incredible look, did it all for WWE. So she could have easily been number 1, slightly edged, but Trish Stratus is amazing.
Yeah, not much more I can say there. I believe it was the Royal Rumble I'm looking up online that they faced, but that could be wrong. I don't know. I definitely cut a promo that they did last night into that montage. And by the way, the Dua Lipa song, that's probably the best song that I've ever edited to. So Trish Stratus, for me, like, she was the one growing up. Like, she was the one, like, still to this day. Like, you could steal a smooch from anybody, it would be Trish Stratus.
Oh, she is with a bullet. Like, I don't even need 2002. I'll take her today.
Yeah. But she turned herself into an amazing wrestler, a wrestler that you wanted to see, and a wrestler who kind of made that division credible again, where they had legitimate matches at legitimate pay-per-views. Again, just making women's wrestling kind of a thing again, where from when I started as a kid, there were no women's matches at all. There was nothing.
We had Alundra Blaze, who could have been an honorable mention too, like Alundra Blaze versus like Bull Nakata.
Barely. Maybe they would throw that in. Jumping Bomb Angels every once in a while when they really need to fill out a pay-per-view, who were great as well. But Alundra Blaze, I remember seeing 1 or 2 times face Bull Nakata. I don't even know if they ever made a Raw.
It was WrestleMania 10.
Yeah.
And she also faced, what was that other woman's name? The really funny, big, chubby woman. Who's with Harvey Whippleman.
Oh yeah, I forget. But it was kind of a joke, and like they did bring women into it slowly. But Trish Stratus really kind of got them back on the track of real women's wrestling, having real matches. And it is crazy because she didn't know anything. She was a fitness model and she trained hard, and that just shows you like you can kind of pick up this business if you want to, and she did.
Yeah, she was an athlete, of course, in her own right. But, like, yeah, and also the thing is, like, listen to the pop she got from when she would come out and be told to bark like a dog, one of the most controversial things of all time, crawl around in her underwear, be told to strip naked.
I hated the Vince McMahon stuff.
Oh, but it was incredible for her character because, obviously, first of all, Vince, like, if I'm Vince, I'm doing the same stuff. Second of all, right in front of his wife. That was hilarious. But the other stuff is, she then took that and then listened to the pop she got at WrestleMania 18 when she comes out in Canada and like rips the she's wearing the booty shorts under with the Canadian flag, like huge pops. Her versus Mickie James, we already talked about it. One of the more memorable matches. Her versus, she had a great match with Victoria Jazz. Like, she was the one, like, where Lita didn't have these incredible matches with all these wrestlers. She did it, and again, came back a few times. Last thing I'll say, she never faced Sasha Banks. She was going to face Sasha Banks, but Sasha Banks had a concussion issue.
Okay.
So there's rumors that maybe there'll still be one more match there.
Okay, because I definitely cut a promo that the WWE put out, so it was probably, I do kind of remember that.
Like, what if? Yeah. So that's Trish Stratus. Again, you said, like, definitely the bing bong hello of my lifetime. Like, to this day, still just one sight of that, those really thin eyebrows that were big in the low early 2000s, gets everything, gets the motor running. So, Bill, just quickly to recap, number 11, our top 11 female wrestlers, the Wonder Women of wrestling. Paige at 11, Bayley at 10, 9 was Mickie James, 8 Gail Kim, Asuka at 7, number 6 was Becky Lynch, 5 China, the Mount Rushmore is Lita, Sasha Banks, Trish Stratus, and number 1, our number 1 wrestler, male or female, of the 2010s, our number 1 wrestler, I think, over the past, like, easy, like, we said it for a decade, and she only was part of it for like 6 years. She is one of the best to ever do it, pound for pound, one of the best wrestlers of all time. Woo! Charlotte Flair.
She's kind of like the LeBron James of female wrestling. Because some people may not like her, some people may not like that she's here on this list this high, but she damn deserves it. Every time she goes into the ring, you're looking at like a legit star, and there's nothing you can do about it. She talks the talk, she walks the walk, and she may have been given opportunities because of who her dad was, but when she got in there, she earned those opportunities. Like, she kept earning those opportunities. She proved herself over and over again. Just an incredible performer, night in, night out. And the thing that I love about her is she typically has the best match that anyone else has. So Bayley's best match, I think, is with Charlotte. I think that Becky's best match is with Charlotte. Sasha, a little bit of a different performer, can kind of go all over, but like, those matches aren't bad anyways. And the moment where she was like, you can't beat me, that's the other thing, that when she's in the ring, she is selling all the time, just like Sasha. Like, the facial expressions that she makes may not be like they're kind of like that Beyonce picture at the Super Bowl. They may not look good paused, but she is such a good emoter in the ring. She does it all well, all of it.
I completely agree with what you said. I said it, pound for pound, like, and she looks dangerous. She's big. She's tall.
She looks like Cesaro.
She really does. She's a big woman, and she could kick some ass. And she's great on the mic. She looks great. She really has that total package. And the reason I was debating between her and Trish was, and this is not to get there, but like wrestling's different now. Women's wrestling is different. I still think there's so much room for sexuality in wrestling. And Charlotte.
I mean, why do you think a lot of women watch it?
What's that?
Why do you think a lot of women watch wrestling?
Oh, I get it. I'm just saying that I just believe that like it's a missing piece a little bit in like your male demographic, which is still the higher demographic. But I don't know if I'm saying Charlotte should be, I don't talk about bra and panties, like even the little stuff they've done with Lana at times, or they did a little bit with Mandy Rose. Like more of that. There's a place for it there. But my point here is that Trish was like dynamic in it all. But at the end of the day, Charlotte is one of the best, most dominating wrestlers we've ever seen, and her moonsault is a thing of beauty. That corkscrew moonsault is incredible. You said that was a really good point. She has had some of the best matches with all of the women on this list. Her and Asuka, while we can go back and look at that WrestleMania 34, it was like 13 minutes, maybe 10 minutes actually, which some people are like, oh, they didn't get enough time. Perfect. Watch the match, watch the story, watch it ends early, because that's what a submission should do. Submission should always be like 26 minutes into a match. You can hit it, you link it in. Great story, great. I'm enamored by her. She's back currently. I love watching her in the ring. I think she can do absolute magic in there, and I'm looking forward to see what's next.
I mean, her versus my girl at this year's WrestleMania. Her name's escaping me for the moment.
Oh, Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley, who's going to be the next Charlotte Flair. She's got that kind of size and skill in the ring. But you're going up against that, guy, that woman, the best. So you raise your game to her level. And I think everybody knows that they have to do that. And I think that's why you get these Hall of Fame match of the year type matches with Charlotte Flair, is because you're going against, like I said, the LeBron James, the Michael Jordan, the best, not only women's wrestler, but one of the best doing it today in anything.
Yeah, and again, she's a little bit older than some. I think she's like 36, 37 years old. And again, seasoned over time. She didn't just skyrocket on. She wasn't quite Roman Reigns, where people want to say that. Which, by the way, both of them at this point, top of their game, both like those people, and good investment.
Sure, Roman Reigns. I've been waiting for it my whole life.
It's seriously, and I lost a bet to you saying that it didn't happen, and I'm still very embarrassed.
But
very embarrassed.
I think that's big for there's like 4 wrestlers in the history who've done well with like shirts on. It's pretty much a shirtless game. But getting back to Charlotte Flair, just amazing. Just one of the best. I will, if you tell me to watch a Charlotte Flair match right now that's happened in the last 6 months, I will go and watch it, because she is that good.
Yeah, well, she was injured for a while. She just faced Nia Jax on a rod. Don't worry, you don't have to see that one. But Bill, that is our top 11 wrestlers. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Tweet at us. Tweet at Pop Culture PD. Let us know. Did we miss one? Is there someone you're like, how did you miss on? Like, one person I thought about after my wife brought it up actually was Nikki Bella.
No,
but
not a good wrestler.
She was really good there at the end, though. She was really
fine.
Good.
She's okay. Like, I think I lost so many bets, when I first started getting back into wrestling, because we would try to guess the whole card. And I was like, Nikki Bella's going to lose, or Brie Bella's going to lose. And they would just fucking book him to win over and over again. She's not a terrible wrestler, but I don't think she scratches the surface of what a lot of these women can do on this list.
Obviously, we talked a little Ronda Rousey. Could have been, because we talked about all these women, like bringing her over was the thing for women's wrestling as well. Like there was the Becky Lynch, it was the Charlotte Flair, but let's be honest, they would have been co-main event somewhere around there. Yeah. But she put them over the edge.
And she was like Kurt Angle when he debuted. She just got it. She knew how to wrestle. Her matches were electric. I loved her matches, but if she had wrestled, from that time to right now, she might have cracked the list.
True. And then one other one that I got a couple, like people said Sable, and she was just more of, again, a sexualized character, not really good in the ring. One that it would have been tough to put on here, and I debate if we did our list of 20, she would have been Stephanie McMahon. Now, maybe not the greatest wrestler, but look at some of the matches she was involved in, from Ronda Rousey's debut to the match with Brie Bella at that SummerSlam to the match against Vince McMahon. One of the more insane, that I Quit match or whatever it was, at No Mercy. She has been involved in, like, she's done it all. She's embarrassed herself. She's been, sometimes a little too strong. But she's another one that could have potentially been mentioned here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my list. We pretty much got every single person either in the honorable mentions or otherwise.
Oh, yeah.
So those are the only ones I can really think of. I feel bad Lisa Marie Vaughan. Victoria didn't crack the list because she was a legit crazy wrestler. Kairi Sane, if she hung around for a little bit longer, she was electric. Ember Moon, I think, might make this list in maybe 10 years if they book her a little bit better because she is that good of a performer.
Absolutely. But Tony Storm, I think, is like, if I were to look ahead, Tony Storm, Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai, Britt Baker, maybe a Riho, a Hidoro Shikaru. I said that name wrong. There's some others in like that.
Naomi might be the only other one we missed.
That's a good one too. Very good athlete, very good in the ring.
She's just a little bit, raw in the ring. She doesn't always put on the cleanest of matches, but a pretty good reign as WWE Women's Champion. I actually did feel the glow when it was happening. So I think we made a pretty good list, and it's obviously very, like we said, it's very recency biased and it's very WWE heavy, but they have the best product. And over the last 5 to 10 years, it's been the strongest that it's ever been. It's a different level.
Absolutely. And one last one I wanted to mention was Fabulous Moolah. I had on my original list, took her off not because of all the controversy, but look what she did in the Attitude Era. She was like 100 years old.
Mae Young actually had just as an impressive career. She was fighting during World War II. And not like in the war, but like she was wrestling during that period of time. And, she was wrestling until 2000.
It's insane. It really is. Ivory, some of the others there. But yeah, female wrestling is so underrated in so many ways. If there's no other reason, if you're not into wrestling today, just check out some of these female matches we mentioned earlier, or just tune into like an NXT, an AEW, a Raw, SmackDown, just to see the women's matches. But that, I think we did. I think we did a great list. Again, tweet at Pop Culture PD, give it a follow. Let us know your thoughts. We'll post some stuff about this. Bill?
And we are the wrestling experts in the DSG. He can't take that away from us.
We are. No. We are whatever people call us, Bill. So we have bad takes. We're music experts, wrestling experts, handsome experts, haircut specialists. We are not the cleanest downstairs because that will be Mac and Goo. They're the specialist of the cleaning up the downstairs, I would say. Dork is the specialist of...
I don't know. They're the leader of the pack and making fun of.
They're like elitists. They're elitists.
Yeah, they are elitists.
Don't make fun of us. We make fun of you.
Yeah.
And change my mind's there.
Yep. They're just filling out the roster. Fryer's there.
Nice.
Fryer. What can I say about Fryer? He's a human and he's a member of the DSG.
As I'm not saying this, but it's a great line. As Jake the Snake said in one of the best promos of the year, he said, "There's two things you don't do. You don't turn your back." And you don't stop, and you don't allow the someone you fear to get the last word. That's what I would do to Fryer. You just turn your back as you just show them respect. No, I'm kidding. No, go check out those guys. All the podcasts we mentioned did
Wonder Woman. Except for Mac and Goo, they did Aliens.
Yeah, it was an interesting take. I thought, I gotta check that out again. Outside of that, Bill, we're looking forward to it. 2020 was a lot of fun. We did some wrestling. We started and we ended with wrestling. A lot of great movie stuff in between. Please do go back in the archives, check it out. Any fine words for the folks or any New Year's resolutions, Bill? Anything you're looking forward to here?
No, I don't really do that kind of stuff. But it has been crazy because we thought about this in April? About doing these live every week, and I don't think we've missed one since, maybe one. But it's been a lot of fun to, for the people who have been here for the live streams, and if you're listening, obviously, thank you for that too. But it's been really nice. I feel like I haven't missed my friendship with you, whereas a lot of other people, it's been a while since I've had this much conversation with them. So, start a podcast or, just Skype your friends or Zoom your friends more often. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, keep doing whatever you're doing out there, and don't forget, get involved with us. There's plenty that we have the whole DSG community. Everyone streams these things live. Follow them all on Twitter. It's a lot of fun to be involved. Definitely great to interact with all you guys. Some of the newbies that come over, people that know us from your workplace that I got a little bit of taste of. So appreciate everybody. Hope you had a great Christmas, everybody. Great Hanukkah. Safe celebrations for New Year's. Looking forward to a lot of great stuff, and we're gonna blow this bitch out in 2021, baby, because we're coming, and we're coming at you strong. So again, thank you so much for tuning in to the Pop Culture Piledriver. We'll catch you all next week. Frank says hi.